BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. In this conversation, I would like to discuss something that I don't discuss too often on these programs or on the web so much, but it's the ET influence on the Kundalini activation and awakening sequences within people that have been selected or chosen or just happened to come into that type of an experience. ET is real. Extraterrestrials are real. Yes, folks, you've heard it here. Extraterrestrials are real, and some of them have a real interest in a person's Kundalini awakening. But I think before I continue on, I want to do a little bit of a sound check. As some of you might know, BlogTalk Radio doesn't give me the ability to do a sound check beforehand. And so if anybody in the chat room could let me know if the sound is coming through clear, I would appreciate it. Lana Seeker, Manisha, maybe a couple of the guests who are there. And Manisha is typing right now. And we'll see if she's not typing too much. Ah, good. Sound is loud and clear. Thank you, Manisha. So, yeah, ET does seem to have a vested interest. Some of them, some of the species, some of the races do appear to have a vested interest in people's Kundalini awakening equation. And in some cases, they will actually manifest an awakening within an individual. And some of them do this for the goodness of humanity because they know that a person with Kundalini awakened has the ability to bring great levels of evolutionary change to the different populations that they engage with on this world. And others will do it for more challenging reasons, more nefarious reasons as a way of harvesting energy. The reptilians come to mind with this. Some of the reptilians, certainly not all of them. But ET does have a very, very big input and in some cases a part to play with people's Kundalini. And I'm going to bring into the conversation John of God. John of God, even though they are ostensibly saints that are being used to initiate healings on the thousands and thousands of people that go down to South America, to the little town of Abadiânia, Brazil, those entities that call themselves Dr. Gusto or any of the various saints that they call themselves, these are basically extraterrestrials hiding behind religious themes and religious understandings of the population that they are having their interaction with. And this, of course, is in central Brazil, about 3 hours to the west of Brasilia. And this is in the Mato Grosso range. And many, many, many of the employees that work at the Casa de Dominacio, the house of Saint Ignatius, and Saint Ignatius is one of the saints that is used ostensibly as a healer in that area. But many of the employees that work at the casa, as it's known, have seen various extraterrestrial craft coming out of the mountain that the casa is situated on, and also going in. And for the longest time, at least for as far back as 2002 or 2001 when I was there for the first time, there was a picture in the main meeting hall of the Casa de Dominacio in Brazil, and it was a picture of Christ standing in front of a very large extraterrestrial ship. And they had this there until I think they got so popular and so many questions started to come about due to that picture that they took it down. But there was still a paint variation where the picture had been, because the picture had been there so long that the paint under it wasn't as oxidized as the paint around it, and so you had this little shadow of where that picture used to be. And this isn't the only place in South America where this is happening. It's happening in Chile. It's happening in Peru. It's happening in Bolivia. It also happens in the deep jungle of the Amazon River basin, where ETs will come down and then they'll land their ship and they'll try to, shall we say, make friends with the natives. And one guy down in the Los Angeles area, the last I heard, which is a number of years ago, one guy in Peru had his Kundalini activated by ET. He basically was walking some of the higher Andean paths through the Andes Mountains, and one time a ship didn't land over him, but hovered over him. And I think they communicated with him in some format telepathically. And, they began a Kundalini awakening activation upon him. And it was a profound experience, as one can imagine. And from that experience, he came up into the United States and began a kind of like a tour service for people to see the ETs. And he felt fairly well connected to them, to the point where if he brought a group of people down there from Los Angeles, that they would be able to see an ET and maybe even have their Kundalini awakened. I don't know. I had lunch with the guy down in Santa Monica, California, and he told me his whole story and exactly how things occurred. And so I relate that to you here, just as an example of just merely one example of Kundalini awakening or activation being given through extraterrestrial contact. Some people are indeed abducted. And as they are abducted, they are taken into a craft or taken into a space. This could either be under the world or in a craft over the world or even in an interdimensional craft. And they are tested and they are activated in the ship and then left on the earth again. And as I said, not everybody's bad with it. There's lots of people that are good with it. There are lots of ETs that are good with it. But there are also those that are very, very unconcerned about the amount of pain or the amount of confusion that they initiate within an individual. And then there are others, like some of the reptilians, who will actually begin to possess a person who is activating. They have an activation, and the reptilian will try to step into the middle of that activation and basically completely take over the body that is having the Kundalini activation. I've actually had direct experience with this type of ET, and it's not pretty at all. These are typically very, very, very aggressive creatures. They will take you over. They will do everything they can do to take you over. And I believe that they are the genesis of a lot of the demonic takeovers that we have in our history, in the Western history certainly, but also in other civilizations and other histories, where a demonic-looking type of creature tries to take over the body of an individual. And I have actually witnessed this happening. I had one student that had this happening to them, and no matter what I tried to do, no matter what they tried to do, they could not stop it. Now, this was about 10 years ago for me, and I had just started to teach, or I wasn't very far into the teaching format, so I wasn't quite sure how to handle that. But it literally ripped the family apart. It took over the mother, this mother of 4 kids, and the husband was basically had no idea what to do, was powerless to do anything, his wife was slowly but surely being taken over by this terrible ET force by force. It was her will against their will, and their will was much stronger than her will, and eventually she was completely consumed from the inside out by this extraterrestrial creature. And I don't know what happened to her after that, but I know that it didn't go well for the husband. The extraterrestrial threw the body of the woman, accused him of child abuse, and I think he went to jail, even though it was not true. And it was just a very, 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 very extremely difficult situation to just observe, let alone being in it would have just been, amazingly impossible. So yeah, it was a very, very, very strong level of malevolence from those types, but not from everybody. The ones that activated the gentleman in Peru were fairly benevolent. And there have been others, as I mentioned, those that land in the deep jungle of the Amazons, fairly benevolent. Hard to say. I don't have too much information on the ones that land in the deep jungle, but we just know that it does occur. The Nordic races, which are the tall, blonde, blue-eyed, fair-skinned extraterrestrials, they have been known to initiate these types of scenarios. And so Kundalini awakening is very, 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 very much looked at, and in many ways, in many different ways, shall we say, appreciated by extraterrestrial intelligence. One of the, that's just, I'm dealing mostly with Syrians and vegans and what's the other ones? The ones from the Seven Sisters star group, the Arcturians, Lyrans, and some of the other ones that I can't remember off the top of my head. They're all interacting in this within the Earth complex. And the Earth is a very special place because in many ways it's a protected environment, but it's not completely protected because, as I mentioned in the last few minutes, takeovers can occur. Takeovers can occur, but it's not just through extraterrestrial, but it's also through interdimensionals. And these interdimensionals also have a vested interest in, their own vested interest. I don't know what their interest is, but and I had my experiences with these folks directly, and these are the ones that I really feel are connected to the Men in Black phenomena. And the Men in Black phenomena, for those that don't know, are these are creatures that wear dark suits, dark sunglasses, dark fedora hats. And I don't, if anybody doesn't know what a fedora hat is, because they don't wear them anymore, although they're starting to make a kind of a comeback. The fedora hat is the main headwear that a person would wear from the late 1930s to the late 1950s and into the 1960s. And these were fedoras, and these were, kind of like gangster hats of the 50s and 40s. And so these Men in Black, these people would come in, and they'd come in with an old 1950s or 1940 automobile, and they typically arrive after some sort of extraterrestrial event had occurred, and they would come up to any witnesses, and they would threaten them with their life. They would say, if you say anything about this, then we will kill your entire family and whatnot, and so on and so forth. And they would do this, periodically over time. Well, my direct experience was not so much with the Men in Black. My experience would have been with the Men in Gray. But they still had that anachronistic, out-of-time appearance. These guys would be in like a gray suit with a gray fedora. And I would see them in different places, mostly in a waking vision or a dream vision. They would come to me, and they would come into the house where my family was living, and and they would have these little electronic boxes on the walls, and they would come in, and, you know, I was being shown my family being in a very mechanical type of expression, and in that expression, I was the only one who was not in the mechanical expression. I was the only one who could see these guys coming into the house and taking out a tool and adjusting an instrument that had been placed upon the wall. And so I remember one time as I was observing this guy, you know, making adjustments on this instrument that was inside the wall, and my family acting like little mechanical mannequins, I knew that the communication to me was, in many ways, and in some ways, we are controlled through interdimensional or ET influence, and our activities and the frequencies of the house that we live in, even the frequencies of the cities and the countries that we live in many ways are controlled by those interdimensionals that will come into any kind of a domicile, any kind of a house or a palace or a cabin or an apartment, or, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, they can come in and they can place the little instruments. These little instruments will change the vibration or current of vibration within the household. And from that, certain levels of control can be initiated upon the human occupants of that home. So he comes in. I'm sitting at the table with my family, and they're all kind of like doing the mannequin thing, and I'm not. I'm watching this guy walk across the room, and I know it's because I'm Kundalini awakened that I was able to see this. So I'm watching this guy walk across the room in his gray suit and his gray hat, fedora, and he goes in and he starts making this adjustment on this thing on the wall. And I wait for him to leave, then I go over and I pull that damn thing out of the wall, and I just wait. And then he comes back, and he looks directly at me, and he very patiently goes back to the sensor or whatever the machine was on the wall, puts it back in place, screws it back into place, and makes his adjustment. And after that, I just left the vision because I didn't want to have anything to do with it. But I know that this happens to other people as well. As a matter of fact, another vision, same kind of guy, gray fedora, gray suit. You know, I'm wading in a creek that is loaded with baby salmon. And I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of little tiny 1-inch fish around me, and I'm just having the best time just gently swirling the water, and they're playing in the swirls, and very nice. And he comes up to me and he says to me, he says, do you know where the central cell is? And I just looked at him, and he says, the central cell. Do you know where the central cell is? And I just look at him and I point to the fish, and I said, it's there. And he looked at me quizzically and walked away. And that was the last conscious interaction I had with this kind of an interdimensional. But they are all over the place, my friends. They are, you know, it's just not quite as common as the entities, the spiritual creations that typically try to harm or beleaguer or contaminate or corrupt a Kundalini awakening person. But they're out there as well, and they have their own agenda, and that agenda may not always, be in agreement with yours. And so now, if you have your own experience with ET coming to you and having an interaction with you regarding your Kundalini, I want you to feel free to call in. The call-in number is 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. I'd like to take a moment and introduce my co-host. Her name is Amelia Santara, and she's the reason why this radio show exists. She's also a very prolific writer on all of the KAS1 groups, and I would like to welcome her into the program right now. Hope I'm not interrupting her at anything, and there we go. Hello, Amelia.
Hello, Chrism. Thank you for the welcome. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone in the chat room. I can see you all today. Good to be here, Chrism.
Well, it's good to have you here. Yes, that's all you have to say. Okay. All righty then. So, have you had an experience?
I I have a question, or I've been, if I can just put something to you. You're talking there about ETs and how they have the ability to activate a person, and and then you're talking about entities which are much more common, I suppose.
No.
Now they
The next one I spoke of was an interdimensional.
Yes, but you said did I understand you to say that entities are much more common than either interdimensionals or ETs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Much more.
But entities typically don't activate. I mean, do they? So, but ETs, you're saying, do have that ability.
Entities can, some entities can activate a person, but these would be of an angelic nature or something that's very far more advanced than your typical spiritual entity creation. That's there more as a corruption rather than an advanced consciousness. So Okay,
Chrism. So are you saying so that ETs have been given, I mean, Kundalini is divine and it has sovereignty, does it, over all life? Would that be?
Divinity has sovereignty over all life, yes. And Kunalini is a doorway into the divine. It is divine. And so to some degree, yes, it has sovereignty over all life. Yes.
So
you've got to understand that sovereignty is a limited human concept. So, within the limited human concept of what we understand in the English language, sovereignty to mean Kundalini has domination over sovereign life.
Thank you. And so, therefore, I'm just thinking. So ET has the ability to activate that life, to activate Kundalini.
Some ET have that ability.
Some ET have that ability. Okay,
yes.
Would that have come from the divine itself, Chrism?
Well, they probably have a very good connection with the divine if they've been given permission to do that type of thing.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it to me. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you not see a triangular craft over Carrie?
Yes, I did.
Tell us about that.
Yes, I did. Well, so I'm in the car and I'm driving down to the village near where I lived for a few years. And in the sky, at a distance, not over me, but at a distance, a huge triangular shaped thingy, which, not your typical, little thing with windows and all of that. It was a very big triangular shaped, bigger than the mountains, at a distance ahead of me, yes. And it was there for a while, and then.
Did they not pull you into it and you were put on a triangular table and experimented upon?
No. I'm sorry, listeners. How boring. No, I continued on my merry way, and no.
You were on your merry way
like
after the experimentation or before?
No experimentation. Everyone's going to be so disappointed. What a come down. No experimentation. But I have also had awareness of them in other times as well over the house that I lived in. I didn't have a visual in the same sense ever after that, but I do know that they were.
How many babies did they harvest from you?
Well, no, I'm laughing, but that isn't very funny, is it? Because seriously, I mean, people aren't. I mean, we can joke and laugh, but I mean, this is serious, isn't it? I mean, people. yeah, people have had experiences with ET Chrism, and there's actually a question that I have today. So can I ask you that now? Can
Sure.
I jump into that? And then, yeah, so the question is, there was something at some point about, what are they called, implants, alien implants on the group. And somebody wrote to say that they don't know what was placed inside them, and it freaks them out a bit, but it looks like a ball of clay. And it's a real challenge for them because this person has had ET dreams and they are real. The person says they are real. It's not something like a nightmare. It's real, and they're very, very aware of tactile sensations during these, let's say, visitations, and they're aware of not being able to move, and it can be quite terrifying, and that a ball of clay or something was placed within them, inside them, and they don't know what to do about this, or you know.
What's the question?
The question is, what can they do about that, about the implant? And indeed about these unwelcome, how to behave, or what can they do?
Well, you can have them removed. You can have the implants removed if you can find a surgeon that is willing to go in and remove it. Typically, these implants have kind of like a consciousness of their own, meaning that, you know, the doctor or the surgeon will come into the body, cut the body open, and begin to approach the implant, and the implant will move by itself away from the doctor's scalpel, burrowing itself deeper into the flesh, or changing its position, or moving in some way, shape, or form. And so they do have an activity that is very, very inconsistent with many of the other types of scenarios that we have from a natural standpoint on this world, say burrowing in like a tick, or, you know, worms or things of that nature. These implants seem to be under a more of a intelligent control, but you can have them removed, and people have had them removed, and you know, so there is that option. If the caveat being if that you can find a surgeon who's willing to take a scalpel and go in and take that damn thing out. There are other people that have, yeah.
So are you talking about real doctors, real scalpels, real physical presence within a person, not spiritual or psychic surgery? You're talking real?
I'm talking real. Real metal, real human surgeons, real scalpels, real incisions, real blood, real tweezers. You bet. I'm talking about the real deal. All the way across the board.
And these real implants are visible how? And X-rays or?
To the naked eye. You can see them.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know, if you go online, you'll see a fairly long list of people that have had implants removed. I met a woman who had been harvested. Her fetuses have been harvested. Every time her husband and her would have sex and create a child, her child would be harvested away from her when the fetus was 3 months. And I spoke to her. She was not a crazy person. She was not schizophrenic. She wasn't bipolar. She wasn't imagining this. She came straight out to me in a very private way, and said yes, she had been, you know, her children had been taken away from her, and that she had been shown where they had been taken, and they had been taken into into the east side of Mount Shasta in Northern California, and you know, into the caverns that go beneath the mountain, And she was shown exactly where they were. Now, I've never been to the east side of the mountain, but, that doesn't really mean anything. For her, she was shown how that occurred and what had occurred. And she knew that, her children were being changed into human ET hybrids or raised as humans by the extraterrestrials. And for whatever reason, she was never told what the reason was. And this had happened to, I think, 4 of the fetuses that her and her husband had developed. And, once again, this woman has no reason to lie. She's not getting any benefits. She's not receiving notoriety. She doesn't want anybody to know. She's not receiving money. She's not writing a book. She's not in a movie. This is a woman sitting outside watching her other 3 kids swim in a swimming pool in a hotel complex. So, it's very, in my opinion, she was very, very legitimate, and she provided details that really, were very, very intimate and very, very disclosing about her level of ET contact. And so, yeah, this does occur. And Chrism, why do you think animal mutations occur? If you have studied this and believe they do, the animal mutations occur because they're taking very specific body parts and organs. A lot of them are looking at the penises of cows, bulls, and the foreskin and the eyes and very, very, very site specific. They're not obviously they're not eating the cow. They're using the organs for a very specific purpose, and typically they're the procreative organs of the animal, and very extremely soft but neurodense tissue of the animals as well. And there's a place up in Colorado, I forget the name of it, but this was the case of an interdimensional coming in and being able to be invisible and being able to matter in a way that our science could not control or could not really record at all. I mean, even when they set up video systems, they couldn't record this ET coming through, except, I got a picture of the ET coming through kind of like a wormhole about 30 yards above the soil. And I saw it as kind of a cat-like creature, with basically toying with the humans that were there on that ranch, and taking great joy out of the confusion that it was causing people and the fear that it was evoking in people. And it really reminds me of my cat Lasha, playing with a mouse. And I believe that we are played with quite often in this way by interdimensionals and extraterrestrials. And so the animal mutilations occur because there are beings that want to use those organs that they harvest from these creatures. And how they're using them, I cannot say, but it is happening, and they are taking very, very, very specific kinds of neurodense tissue and reproductive organ tissue. So if you want more information about the animal mutilations, you might look at Linda Moulton Howe, Linda, and then the last name is Moulton-Howe, and that is the author of a she has done very extensive research into the mutilations phenomena, and it's a good resource. I have not read her book, but I have met her, and she's a very nice lady, and I think she comes at it from a very scientific perspective. Some of you may have witnessed a movie that was out a few years back. I think it was called something about like the fourth, some sort of it was an ET film where a psychotherapist was placing people under hypnosis because they were having extreme levels of extreme agitation to the point of committing suicide with a pistol. And this was a group of people within the area of Nome, Alaska. And what eventually happened is she figured out that these people were having extraterrestrial encounters, and the encounters were totally malevolent, and they were stealing children. We're talking 6-7-year-old children from the people of that area. But that's not, I don't want to stray too far from the Kundalini aspect of this, because, if you do, we can just go on for like the next 20 years discussing the various visitations and various manipulations of extraterrestrials upon this world. But within a Kundalini context, it narrows it down much further. Did you have something to say, Santara? I heard a noise from your mic.
No, let me put it into the blue.
So, I wanted to cover this because I haven't really covered it in depth, I don't think. We've done so many shows, and I don't have a list here of all the different topics that I've discussed, but ET does have a vested interest in people that have Kundalini. Not all of the ETs do, but some of them do, and some of the one instance that I do want to relate. A doctor was in the Mato Grosso area of Brazil. An ET crash occurred. The ship went down. Everybody saw the ship go down, and one of the ET occupants survived. And this was of the species of reptilians, but it was a benevolent reptilian. It wasn't some of the reptilians are kind of split up into roughly speaking, two separate groups. One group wants to totally dominate, use, consume, and mutilate humans. They see humans as no more important than we would step on a bug. They see humans in the way that we see white lab rats, and we're there to be used and experimented on and taken over and harvested, and et cetera, so forth. The other group doesn't see it that way. The other group is far more benevolent towards humanity, and they see the great level of potential that the humans have. And this happened to be one of those that had crash landed, and he was injured. And an American MD happened to be in the town at the time when the ship went down, and he encountered this reptilian being, and the reptilian being communicated him strictly via telepathy and downloaded a great level of information about the amazing potential that human beings have. And this of course begins to bring us into the area of the Kundalini. And the reptilian basically said, we have the power of the divine at our fingertips. And so here we go, right into the Kundalini. We have the power of the divine. We have such a huge power and such a huge potential, but we have no understanding of it, and we have no way of mentally or egotistically accessing it. And so we live out our many, many, many lives in complete darkness and ignorance with regards to these amazing, amazing levels of divine potential. And one of the problems that many of the ETs have with us is that we, through whatever grace, have been given the ability to go from zero potential to divine potential within one lifetime. Not saying it's an easy path or anything like that, but we have that ability. And many of these races that I'm talking about do not have that ability, and they want it. They want to have that ability. They want to be able to do these things. And so they take the humans and they torture the humans. They abduct the humans. They take the sperm and the ovum and they grow the humans. And they do anything and everything that they can do to try to figure out how humanity and how they can replicate that type of an energetic signature artificially for their own purposes. This is the big deal, and this ties in. Believe it or not, this ties in with my experience of fallen angels. And the fallen angels, and we're talking the fallen ones, not the ones that are still up there flying around, I guess. But the fallen angels are those that have a very, very, very sharp and strong criticism over the divine gifting to humanity that surpasses the angelic realm and places people within the heavenly realm straight through. And this is, once again, the Kundalini. And I have actually come into very, very close proximity to a fallen angel, which is, the angel is about 17, 18 feet tall, very, very large, very, wasn't skinny, very strong, very muscular, and very angry. And part of that anger was directed at why the divine source would gift a talking ape these great levels of divine potential. And, he basically came down to me. He stepped out. He was living in some sort of a cavern that everything that he was at was surrounded by an energetic bubble. So he was basically imprisoned in a clear energetic bubble. Inside the bubble, there was a lawn, a few trees, a stone bench. And on that stone bench, is a white stone bench. And then before you get to that stone bench, you have to go back about 20 yards. And from there, a stone cavern had been set up. So it was like a large oval circular rock manifestation. But it was big enough to house something that, was like 18 feet tall. And there were steps leading up to it. And there were like 3 steps. And he came out of the building. I was there like right at the steps. And he came out of the building. And first thing he said to me, he looked down to me with a sneer. And he said, "Do you actually believe that he really loves you? You? You're a talking ape!" Pardon the telephone there. Maybe that's him giving me a call. So it's like, wait a minute. And he went on and on and on about how upset he was about the special qualities that were given to humanity. And I was somewhat mortified. I was like, whoa, wow, this thing is really angry. And what the hell am I doing here anyway? And he let me go, and I just kind of walked away from the steps, and I kind of laid down. I don't know why I did it, but I laid down on that white stone bench, and I started to levitate up towards the into the sky, and I was stopped by that energetic barrier. The energetic barrier was about maybe 60, maybe even 100 yards wide in a circular way. And when it stopped me, it was very, very, very much like I was pressing my hand into latex, and it was very, it would give. And on the other side, I felt other kind of malevolent beings that were attracted to the fallen angel. They were trying to get in, and I was just kind of feeling the edges of it, and that's when I left. So a lot of ET feel the same way that this fallen angel would feel. They feel that we are basically white rats that deserve to be experimented on, and they have no problem doing that. Not all of them do, however. Not all of them do. And if you want to read a good book about the interaction of ET with humanity, you want to read a book by Melody Royal. That's Melody, and then the last name is Royal, Royal, and it's called The Prism of Lyra, and that's Prism, Prism, as in Mary, of Lyra, and that's of course, and then it's Lyra is Lyra. You can probably look that up on Amazon or somewhere on the web, and that's a very, very, very. My Kundalini led me straight to that book, and I was entranced with it because even though it is channeled information, which I typically despise, this stuff was really, really. It felt very true, very truthful to me, and I strongly recommend that anybody interested in this subject can read that. Now, she doesn't really go in to the Kundalini aspect of ET interaction with humanity, but she does give a fairly accurate description of how things are going within this quadrant of the galaxy and what the many different races, some of whom I've mentioned already, have a vested interest in the Earth and the citizens and the humans of the Earth. So if you have any questions, please feel free to call in. The number is 347-934-0026, and you can ask a question that you might have about your interaction with extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings. Okay, and let's see here. Here we go. And I would like to go ahead and start the question-answer period there, Amelia, if you'd be willing to do that.
Yes, Chrism. Can I ask you another question about ET first?
Yes, of course.
Or interdimensional, whichever. How does a Kundalini person deal with such visitations?
That's difficult because you never know whether that is part of your karmic agreement. Like before you came behind the veil, you maybe agreed to meet these individuals. So, for instance, I climbed Mount Shasta back in 1986, and I climbed up and up and up and up, and the idea for me was to actually make contact with ET. And so I climbed and climbed and climbed until I got to a spot at about the 11,000-foot mark on the mountain, and there was this nice circular flat area that was enclosed by rock that I could stretch out my sleeping bag and go ahead and do that. And I stayed up. I meditated, and I was sending, telepathically sending. Yeah, remember, this is when I was 26 years old. I was 4 years from my spinal sweep, from the beginning of the activation in this body, of this physical body. But I had a previous life activation already occurring. And so I was able to send telepathically, if you're here, come on out, sending a greeting, sending an invitation. And I finally, I did this, it must have been from 10 to 3 a.m. And finally I just gave up and went to sleep and woke up with a squirrel running up and down my sleeping bag. And I, nothing had happened. And I thought, well, that was a whole waste of time. And so I started to climb down the mountain. I climbed all the way back down. I got into the town of Mount Shasta, and I read the local paper. And that night, UFO lights had been seen circling the mountain, and it had been reported to the law enforcement agencies, the sheriff's department, the California State Highway Patrol, and it was in the local newspaper. And I had even found an unexploded anti-tank missile that they had been using for avalanche control for the snow. And it was live. It was a live round. It had not exploded, and somebody could step on that and get blown up. And so the sheriff's department made me walk all the way back up to where I saw that on the mountain, dragging a deputy with me. And he marked it, and they eventually exploded it. But some people say I had been visited and that my memories of it had been wiped. I don't know. But that did occur in 1986. So there you have that. As far as what a Kundalini person can do, you can invoke the Kundalini. You can invoke divinity. You can invoke Shakti. You can invoke Shiva. You can invoke divine, I don't want to use the word protection, but you can invoke that force against an interdimensional or an extra dimensional or ET person. Typically, if you do not have a karma to interact with them, you won't get that. I think there are certain levels of permission that have to be acquired either before the body is incarnated in, or in some way after the body's been incarnated in. Permission has to be given, and that then is allowed. With abduction cases, I cannot really tell you about that, but within a Kundalini context, to have contact with them is, fairly, from a Kundalini context, not that common. Now, when I went up to John of Gods, I met these guys, and they were very tall, not as tall as the fallen angel, maybe 12 feet tall, very skinny limbs, kind of broad heads, and they had little surgeon smocks on, which did fool me a bit. And they were very intelligent, and they were actually willing to talk, and they were actually willing to give lessons of nonviolence. And I was given a lesson of nonviolence in that scenario, and I was also allowed to speak with them and allowed to interact with them. And John of God himself took me aside and asked me to participate with him in the various operations and surgeries that he was doing, in the casa at that time. And I was also allowed to sleep in the Enchidagi, the Cuarto de Enchidagi, the room of the entity. And they came to me that night, and I knew they were going to come to me that night. And they took over half of my body with my permission. With my permission, not against my will, but with my permission. They took over half of the body, and the sensation was that of having your body kind of electrified and into much higher voltage, not to the point that you're being electrocuted or anything like that, but to the point that you could feel the Kundalini really was, you could feel it respond to that level of vibration. And, come to find out that they're using everybody's Kundalini that comes to the Casa de Dominacio, John of God. They're using everybody's Kundalini to initiate these healings that they're giving. This is why the healings are so effective. And when I felt that come on to me, it left a signature of approachment within my body. And so, I could feel them quite a bit after that. When I was down there, I could feel their presence there. I could kind of feel them. And I was not, there was no fear. I wasn't being taken over. I didn't have any kind of a patch left on me that said, enter here. But it was part of my early explorations into this type of phenomena, and so I thought I'd relate it to you here, as it does have relevance, because these were ETs, and I did invite them to come to me, and they were I got the idea they were kind of grooming me to be another John of God, but Brazilian food didn't really agree with me, and the whole scenario was pretty weird. I mean, they would heal people from the States. Like, I met a woman from Boston, and they would heal a woman. They healed this woman of an incurable disease, and she decided to stay in Abidjan. She bought a house. She was there without visa control with the government, and the ETs kept her there. Not against her will, by the way. It was just total permission from her. But they kept fooling the government. They had the ability to hide her presence in that country away from the military, which is the governing body of people who are there, without a visa or with a visa, that type of thing. In Brazil, you have to pay $268 in order to get a visa. And that visa is only good for 6 months. And you can use that 6 months, anywhere between 1 and 5 years, I think. But it's only 6 months. It's not 6 years. So, and she had been there quite some time. And so they consistently would harvest her Kundalini, and she would give it voluntarily for the sake of giving people healing. And you got to understand that these ETs, these extraterrestrials, would also keep a portion of that Kundalini for their own purposes. But I have to say, it's a much gentler and a far more agreeable way to harvest Kundalini by giving something in return for it. So, I speak fairly highly about the John of God experience. And I know, Amelia, you had your John of God experience too. Do you remember?
Yeah, of course, Chrism, I do. Indeed. Wow. Yeah.
Did you have any ET experiences?
I don't really have.
That?
I was aware of ET. It was my first time having an awareness of ET out in the mountains, and also some other near a field and a few other experiences like that. And I was aware of ET in the context of John of God as well, in the room and that. But nothing as explicit as yours at all, Chrism, no.
Yeah, I got this.
Visual,
to talk with him. Yeah, well, the funny thing is in Brazil they've got these, the posadas, which is the word for hotel or motel. My first time there, somehow I was just so lucky that I got the hotel the room in the hotel that none of the rooms had flushing toilets, and so everybody would take their little bucket and they would empty it into a bigger bucket that just happened to be right next to my door. So lucky. So anyway, we called it the shit room. So I was in the shit room, and it was about 2:00 in the afternoon. And at that time in Brazil, at 2:00 in the afternoon, you'd have this tremendous downpour of rain, and it would happen like clockwork. And so I was just laying down, and I drifted off to sleep. And in that motel, they had this big bird cage in the middle of the square, which was inside the motel. They had this big open area, and they had a little prayer space in there. And right next to that prayer space, they had this great big bird cage with all of these parakeets in it, and they were all twittering and having a good time. And these parakeets were not incarcerated. They could come and go as they pleased, and they all pleased to go there because they got fed. But so they're twittering away, and I drifted off to sleep to that twitter. But that twitter kept me from going into a deep, deep sleep. And this is when I had the out-of-body experience where I met the ETs that were working at John of God's, and they were more than happy to communicate with me, and they were very, they kind of had a condescending attitude, I think, I have to say. But I kind of had a bit of an attitude myself about it. So maybe that's what it was. But we had a communication, and we communicated about what they, and I thought, I said, well, you should do this, this, and that. And they said, oh, should we? And and they let me watch, and they let me see what they were doing, that type of thing. And by and large, it was a fairly positive interaction. But I did see them, and I know them for what they are. Yes.
Well, they would have visited the room, Chrism, for me, presence. I would have been aware of presences, if you know what I mean, without any visuals, and certainly been touched.
The invisible hands? Are you talking about the invisible hands?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. They warn you about that down there. They say, beware of the hands at night, the invisible hands. Don't be afraid. They're not hurting you.
I didn't know about them.
This is quite true. They came into my room as well, Amelia, about 10 o'clock at night. They came into my room, and it was literally, you're gobsmacked. You don't believe what they say, number one. But anyway, all of a sudden there were invisible hands that were reaching into my intestines and feeling my kidneys and feeling, all of my major organs, my liver, my kidneys, gallbladder, everything. And And I was just stunned that was occurring. Did the similar thing happen to you, Santara?
Yes, similar to that, Chrism. It's like you can't even describe it, really.
Yeah, it's like you're all of a sudden made of jello and somebody's reaching their hands into this jello.
Exactly.
But these were entities, and Santara had Kundalini at the time. Her Kundalini was activated, awakened. Mine was awakened. And other people there, Kundalini awakened as well, and they were also interacting. And so I don't know if they just came to the Kundalini awakened people or not, but they certainly came to me, and certainly to Santara. And they came to enough people that it was common enough for the staff of the hotel to say, don't be afraid of the hands that come at night. They're not going to hurt you. And, being an American, stupid American, I'm just like, oh, yeah, right, whatever. You don't take it seriously at all. But after that, boy, let me tell you, I paid attention. I paid close attention to that. And so there are common interactions with people between Kundalini people and extraterrestrial and interdimensional, and even time travelers as well. And so just so you know this, and that you're able to put this into your little personal reference material for you, I want you to be aware of this, and I want you to not be afraid if something like this happens to you. You hold your ground, you hold your consciousness, you be as clear and unafraid as you can possibly be. If you feel that the ET is going to hurt you or is trying to take you over, well, you invoke the Shakti, you invoke the Shiva. You invoke God and you invoke Goddess. You invoke the consciousness of your Kundalini, and you do anything that you're given to do from that source to keep that ET from polluting you or from trying to take you over. So just want you to know that. And please continue, Amelia, with the question and answer session.
Okay, so Chrism, there is something I copied from the group just before we came online, and it refers to the Casa in Brazil. So I'm reading it really now. I'm going to read it all. After this lady has had some extreme emotions recently, but now she's calm again. And she had very strong help from the Casa entities from Brazil. Then they clean and help me. And also that I was under dark attacks. This isn't well written, so it's difficult. The energy now flows strongly, but it does not scare me. And I always say my mantra.
This is Fata, right?
No. Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay. Her name is Fata. Yeah, they'll do that. They'll help a person, and they'll follow you home too, by the way. But they're not there as a malevolent force. They're there to help you with it. They don't try to take you over. They're not really, it's not the malevolent force that, say, like the reptilians are. These are completely different species of extraterrestrial, and they won't. I've had direct experience with this race, and for what they take from you, Kundalini wise, they return some very strong gifts of healing, and this person is experiencing that right now. She doesn't speak English very well, so it's hard to say. It's hard to put together all of her context as far as what her experience is with it, but it sounds to me like she's continuing to have a healing. She's been to the Casa de Dominacio more than a few times, though. She lives there in Brazil, and so this is one of the places she likes to go. Brazil and Peru and Chile and Colombia, fairly strong hotspots for extraterrestrial activity. Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada, certain parts of Northern California, Oregon. There are also these areas of Kundalini interactivity with extraterrestrials or interdimensional. So be aware of it, but don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. Do not show fear, and do not feel fear. Let yourself be comforted and strengthened by your Kundalini consciousness, and know that it is there. Know that it knows you know that it's there.
Okay. She continues, Chrism, and she says, tonight I slept very deeply and I had a wonderful dream. It was that 2 years after her death, my friend came for the first time to me. I talked to her and she gave me support. In life, I had really helped her. In the end, she died of cancer. I was glad to meet her, Chrism. I read about a route that promotes lucid dreaming called sane. It's also called the African dream route. Is this compatible with the Kundalini? I'm afraid to make another mistake.
It is compatible with the Kundalini, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Well, that's the end of that then. I will go back up and I will begin at the beginning. Okay, so the first question comes from people, the first few are from people who have written that are not on the group. It says, can you, I request that you ask this question to Master Chrism on my behalf, please, if it's possible. The question is, I feel constant pressure in my head for the last few months. Sometimes it's unbearable. It feels as if my head is going to burst. What should I do on such occasions? I feel a partition in my forehead. I could feel it with my fingers. 6 months ago, when I was sleeping, I had a very strong pain in my crown, and I felt the energy being pulled upwards. I felt as if something was in my head and expanding. It lasted for a few minutes, and then I was dizzy for the next few months, but that's gone now. Are these phenomena normal? I'm very much afraid that I'm having damage to my brain cells.
It sounds to me like you are indeed being manipulated from an outside, inside force. So, for instance, the Kundalini in you itself may be pulling your energy up to your crown, and because the energetic anatomy of your crown is not used to having such a level of energy come in, it will manifest as pressure in the skull, and it can sometimes be painful and sometimes quite painful for that adjustment period to be lived through. There's not too much you're going to be able to do about that except withstand it and know that nothing is wrong, nothing is being damaged. It's just the acclimation time period that a person experiences when such a level of energy is being brought in. It's like a 12-volt system being turned into a 12,000-volt system. And so, of course, the energetic structures are going to go through levels of transformation. Sometimes those transformations can be really seen as growing pains. And if any of you have kids, you realize that when they're teething or when the teeth are starting to come through, it's fairly painful for that child. Well, it's the same thing with the Kundalini child. When the energy is being pulled up, it begins to manifest itself upon the energetic anatomy, and that energetic anatomy is being forced to expand. And it's that forcing of expansion that causes the pain, much the same way a 2-year-old will have the teeth being forced through the gum tissue. You know, that gum tissue is being forced to expand. Well, in this case, your entire energetic anatomy, the cranium, is being forced to expand. And this can be experienced as extreme head pressures or headaches bordering on migraine. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. The next query. I have started to follow the safeties recently, and regarding the tongue up position, do I place the tip of the tongue on the gum behind the upper front tooth or on the soft palate area?
Behind the upper front teeth, there's a little mound of flesh in most humans. And right there is where you want to put the tip of your tongue. And as you begin to manifest your Kundalini, she will put it there for you. And one thing you might want to be observant of is if you have your mouth closed, your tongue tip goes there anyway, for the most part. I won't say it's the same way for each person, but for the most part, for most people, when you close your mouth and you're not moving your tongue around, the tongue tip will naturally fit right behind the upper front teeth, right on that fleshy mound, which is a master switch. So you always want to do that. You always want to do that whenever you're not talking, kissing, eating, coughing, sneezing, laughing, crying type of scenarios. Over.
Master switch, Chrism, can you say a little bit more?
Master switch, yes, a master switch between the cranial circuits and the circuitry of the torso. The master switch. You want to keep that tongue tip up, or what will happen is the torso energies will come up, and it will all kind of center around that tongue tip, and it will burn the tip of your tongue. If you have your tongue tip up in that position behind the upper front teeth, well, that energy can go right into the cranial circuitry and begin to, what's the word, to bring itself into the cranial circuitry and begin those developments that are there because the energy is in the cranial circuitry. It'll begin to do that. Your development will be much smoother and with a greater level of painless transformation than if you kept your tongue tip purposefully away, or you're putting it in a position that is incompatible with the level of Kundalini that you have at the moment. Over.
I can remember having what I thought was like an electrical thread on the top of my tongue. It was very and very, very hot, going way back, and that was very helpful, that position. Chrism, the next question is, the person was hearing BlogTalk radio on the safeties, and Chrism Sir told about tightening the sphincter while meditating. Is that the anal sphincter, and why?
Oh, yes. I think there's only one sphincter in the body. I could be wrong. Am I right, Mantara?
Well, yeah, you're right.
How many sphincters do you have? Last time you counted.
I'm special.
Well, it's a ring muscle. So the eyes are ring muscles. The nostrils are ring muscles. The urethra has a ring muscle at the end, and of course we have the sphincter, which is also a ring muscle. You can tighten the sphincter as part of the Mahabandha, which is the master lock. And so, you'll do your meditation with the sphincter continuously tightened, with your diaphragm kind of tucked under your chest, your forefinger tip and thumb tips together, your tongue tip to the roof of your mouth behind your upper front teeth, your eyes looking up, and your head slightly down towards the chest. This would be the Mahabandha, and tightening the sphincter is one of those positions for the Mahabandha. Can you ask that question again?
Yeah, you did. They wanted to know, they had heard you speaking about it on a blog show, about tightening the sphincter while meditating. So you wouldn't do that at every meditation, though, Chrism, would you?
Yes.
Or would you? I suggest you would.
Only if you have a guidance to initiate the Mahabandha.
Okay.
Mahabandha really reminds me a lot of yoga. It's what people observing others that are having Kundalini awakening doing. So it's like the Kriya phenomena. People will observe the Kriyas. Well, they observed so many different Kriyas, they were able to make a whole system out of just observing the Kriyas, which is what modern day yoga has become. But with the Mahabandha, these are people that kind of took it at the next step further beyond just the Kriyas. They also observed, where the tongue went, what the fingers were doing, what the chin was doing, what the sphincter was doing, what the diaphragm was doing. And let's see, you got you have the eyes, the tongue, the chin, the diaphragm, and the sphincter. Yep, that's all 5 of them. And that would be the Mahabandha. And if you're being given that guidance to do the Mahabandha, then of course you would do it at every opportunity. This is a system that is designed to incur Kundalini activation or awakening. Typically with the person that already has the Kundalini activated or awakened, you don't really need to do that so much. And if it is done, the Kundalini does it for you. Places your body into those positions.
Okay. Thank you, Chrism. So when you're saying guidance...
Yeah, go ahead.
When you use the word guidance,
that would be from your Kundalini. From your Kundalini. The Kundalini would compel you. When the Kundalini compels a person, to me that is Kundalini guiding a person. So if the Kundalini compels you to eat purple cabbage, well, then she's guiding you to eat purple cabbage. And if she's compelling you to assume the positions of the Mahabandha, well, then she's guiding you to assume that position. And as you receive that guidance, she'll make that position doable by you. None of these positions are very hard. The hardest one would be tucking the diaphragm under the chest, under the rib cage. That would be the hardest one. I'm doing it right now, so I can tell you it can be done. If I can do it,
but when the Kundalini does that, it's so easy because that's what the Kundalini did to me, and it was like I couldn't do it myself, but the Kundalini did it.
Well, when the Kundalini does it, it really goes up and under the rib cage. Let me tell you, it's
amazing.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
But it's done. You know what I mean? It's done, and it's very strong, and it's powerful. But I mean, I wasn't doing it. It just now I had to deal with how it felt and allow it. But but anyway. But so just in terms of guidance, Chrism, if a person gets that information through listening to your radio show, I suppose I'm asking you, should that person, or would it be a good idea for the person who asked the question to begin to do that with the sphincter during meditation?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Now, before you ask the next question, Yassine Beatrice has a question on the chat room here, and there's a dear Chrism, I have a strong pain in my head, but I take it as if blockages are being removed because of the changes I've made in my life. Am I right? Well, if that's how you're taking it, then that's how it is. I would say that I would, there can be blockages that are caused by lifestyle changes for sure. And there can be blockages removed by changes in that lifestyle. But, so you're right in that sense, Yassine. The other aspect of it I can certainly suggest is what I said earlier, that as the greater levels of energy come into the crown chakra, the crown chakra itself is forced to expand, and it's forced to incorporate much greater levels of energy, and that strength of energy can force the flesh body to expand, and that's forced expansion can cause pain. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. What does Chrism feel about a reincarnation therapist helping to remove an entity?
A surrogate?
What does Chrism feel about a reincarnation therapist helping to remove an entity?
What's that word that you're using?
Reincarnation therapist.
Therapist! Oh my God, that was different. Okay, therapist. Not much. I don't think too much about that. I think that's kind of silly. first of all, to call themselves a reincarnational therapist. Are you kidding me? Please. So what are they doing? Are they initiating reincarnation?
I'm just assuming it's a past life regression thing, is it?
Yeah.
Do you think? No.
Now, if you're doing like say a regressive technique, like say hypnotherapy, say a person is deathly afraid of water and they're hypnotized and they say, where were you in the last time you had a physical body? And they describe, I was on a ship, and so how did you die in that physical incarnation? Well, the ship went down and I drowned. And I tried to grab on the wood, and I was floating on the wood for a while, but the wood started to sink, and I couldn't stay up. I couldn't keep swimming, and I had to drown. Well, that can be very, very therapeutic for a person to be able to relive that and to be able to take some of the trauma out of that. That can be very, very, very helpful for a person to do, and it can take away that extreme fear of water, which would take away, in substance, take away the blockage that person would have about water. So if it's that kind of a thing, then I'm very supportive of that. If it's somebody going around saying, yes, I'm a reincarnational therapist, and I was a therapist in my last reincarnational life, and this time because I'm reincarnated, I'm a reincarnational therapist. Voila.
Oh, I see. Mm.
Yeah.
So if we assume that it's, because I don't know, I hadn't heard the term before, Chrism, if I kind of assumed it was past life regression, let's say that that's what it is, if we could just assume that for a minute.
Okay.
Would that be helpful? Is there a karmic connection with entities? I mean, would that be how would it be helpful in connection to removing an entity?
Was this an entity that's calling itself a reincarnational therapist?
What does Chrism feel about a reincarnation therapist helping to remove an entity?
Oh, an entity.
It's
helping to remove an entity. Yeah. Dr. Baldwin was doing this type of work, and I'm trying to remember Dr. Baldwin's name, but if you Google Dr. Baldwin entity removal, it'll come right up to his work. And I thought his work was very, very profound. He's passed now, but I believe his wife has carried on his techniques. And Dr. Baldwin was a dentist. And in his dentistry practice, he would place people under hypnosis for pain management. And inside of those experiences of hypnosis, different presences or different consciousness would come forward, which eventually would have identified itself as an invasive entity. And Dr. Baldwin developed various techniques. I think I'm going to go there myself, and I'm going to post his stuff up on our groups because it's very appropriate for entity removal. And what he would do is he would invoke certain characteristics, certain higher entities to help remove that entity itself. He would also talk to the entity that has embedded itself into the person, and he would have the entity removed that way. There were various techniques that he used for entity removal, and I must say that he had some success to it. And I do believe his wife is carrying on that tradition. I'm going to go there right now, as a matter of fact. Dr.
I Googled.
Yeah?
I Googled William J. Baldwin. Is it, Chrism?
Yes.
There's
I believe
a book, Healing Lost Souls, Releasing Unwanted Spirits from Your Energy Body by William J. Baldwin.
Boom, that's the one. Can you go ahead and post that up on the group, Sarah? I mean, keep that page there because that's really good.
I'll do it after.
Now, it's a little Christian-oriented. I don't want any of the Buddhists or the Islamists or the Zoroastrians or the Hindu or the shamanic people to get turned off because it's just he's only using Christianity because that's the culture he grew up in. I'm sure that any of the archetypes of goodness and archetypes of grace, and any of those religions I just mentioned would do the same darn thing. Same darn thing. Yeah, Dr. William Baldwin. I read his material extensively. I was pulled by my Kundalini to read his material, and so I do strongly suggest it for folks. It's funny. Well, yeah, it's a good thing. I'm surprised I haven't posted that before. So very good, very good, very good.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. Okay, so the next question, okay, so I'm going to read this. My husband, let me see, 2 seconds, Chrism. Okay, a couple of months ago, I heard a voice coming out of my husband who was asleep. It was not the voice of my husband, and the voice sounded very angry and was greeting me. I saw large movements.
Sorry.
I saw large movements in my husband's body as if something was moving inside him. Now, an hour before this happened, I saw a vision of a man with my third eye, with an angry and hatred look in his eye, and I think this was the man from the voice. Now, my husband has been diagnosed with a personality disorder just recently, but I believe it's an entity attachment. He has also had panic attacks and...
This is a perfect person to engage Dr. William Baldwin's techniques. Perfect. That is a perfect scenario for that to occur. And yes, I agree with this person. I believe that her husband is indeed possessed and does not have a personality disorder. This is the fallacy of medicine at this time and age on this planet, that anything that is of a spiritual manifestation upon a human being has some sort of a medical diagnostic that doesn't include spirituality, that does not include the understanding of life after death. I mean, it's very, very, very pathetic in the fact that medicine has been so twisted and contorted that it avoids the energetic spiritual, and because we have people that are listening to this program right now that are working, that have Kundalini awake within them. They're working with babies, they're working with children, and they're fully engrossed within the medical field and doing a great job with it, by the way. And they're still working within the limited paradigm that the medical authorities allow them to work within. And the Kundalini just slips itself in there whenever it's needed. I mean, this is a person that saves lives consistently, baby lives, little lives. So this woman her husband is not paranoid, schizophrenic, or anything like that. Although he could become that way if that infestation is allowed to occur. And so I think that go get that person's book, get that entity removal book, and allow that work to take place within him, and allow him to accept it. Right now, they probably have him on some pretty strong tranks and some sort of an SSRI, selected serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and these are not good for people that have Kundalini. But she never indicated that he does.
He doesn't, but she does. Well, I mean,
okay.
She does, and he's very he's never calm, very easily angered, aggressive. He doesn't hurt them anymore because she doesn't allow it, stuff like that with him. But also, she doesn't understand why the entity talks to her. And also, when she is near her husband because she feels he's possessed, she gets chills all over. When he hugs her, red spots appear on her skin in the same area a few seconds after he has hugged her. And so, it gets itchy and burny. How to handle it, Chrism.
That entity needs to be removed. So just a second here. Just a second.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that works for her. Ever since my ayahuasca experience, I've been given some expanded healing abilities and to be able to just go somewhere and do it. So I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
Oh, it's coming in from the back. Well, here you go. Oh, there you go. Okay. Hopefully that helped. Now, apropos of our topic this afternoon for me and evening for you, at my last ayahuasca experience, some of the people did indeed encounter machinery and circumstances that were quite indicative of alien or ET involvement. So even there, within the ayahuasca experiences, you're able to see the interactions of extraterrestrial or interdimensional with people that are undergoing specific levels of ayahuasca experience. And so something else for people to consider, that even as you do the ayahuasca, whether or not you have Kundalini awakened within you, however, this happened to be, I think, this happened to be with a Kundalini awakened person. They were shown very specific types of machinery and things of that nature. And so, once again, including discarnate voices saying this or that. So it looks like Santara has just been dropped. And so I'm going to continue with that a little bit. As you do the ayahuasca and as you are experiencing the effects of the ayahuasca, it can be an extremely healing modality, but it can also be very, very difficult. I mean, I know that myself and some of the callers that are listening right now, I mean, we did the ayahuasca at 9,000 feet, actually over 9,000 feet. I think it was like 9,400, 9,300 feet, something like that. And, it was very, very, very difficult to do that. But at those elevations in the Andes, you will have specific levels of ET contact. And this is prevalent. This is not something that is as surprising to the inhabitants there as it is to us perhaps listening to the show. The ETs do commonly interact with people, and for the most part, we're only allowed to see within a very narrow bandwidth of the visual range. We don't see infrared, whereas the dogs, I got the dogs, man, right here, big German Shepherd and big wolf husky. These folks can see the infrared. Okay, we can't. Now we can perceive it in different ways, but typically, just a regular person can't really see the infrared. And so we're given a very, very, very limited range of visual acuity that allows us to perceive, say, an interdimensional or an ET, things of that nature. And so it's very important for us to understand that even though we may not see it, they are certainly there. They are certainly there. And with your Kundalini, and I understand you're back, Centaur, welcome back. Certainly within the Kundalini, we are given an expansion of that visual range, and we need to take advantage of it and do not discredit it just because it doesn't fit within the programming paradigm of the society that you've been raised in. Give it as much validation as you would seeing a physical flower or any other manifestation of physicality. Go ahead, Santara.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. I got bumped off. So the next question is about dreams. Since my awakening, symbols seem to guide me during the day. Firstly, I have visions about animals that were symbols, and they guided me. I have special dreams, blah, blah, blah. 2 days ago, I had a dream about my dead grandma. She took me by the hand and with lots of love brought me to the grave of my grandpa, where I went down on my knees and cried, and I woke up with tears running down my face. Today I had a fight with a green snake. She wanted to bite me, but I was much stronger, and I pressed her jaws together so she could not injure me. I have the feelings that these dreams were also symbols, but I do not understand them. What do they want to show me?
Huge mistake. Huge mistake.
I know.
I know. Huge mistake in not letting that serpent bite you. That was an invitation into grace, but you let your fear take you over, and she allowed you to close her mouth. You weren't, Miss Supergirl, not being able, it's like, oh, I'm going to overpower the green snake. The green snake is an indication of the Shakti goddess, the love at the fourth chakra when she comes as a green serpent. And she wanted to bite you, and she wanted to give you her grace. Your grandmother set this up. You might see the grandmother and the grandfather as the two that became one, that allowed you to manifest a green snake, or to allow the Shakti to come to you as a green serpent wanting to bite you. You've got to get over your fear of snakes and being bitten, and also your fear of spiders. These are two of the most benevolent carnivorous creatures you'll ever meet when it comes to Kundalini activity, and you really need to begin to learn how to accept that. Do not resist the bite of a black dog with red eyes. Do not resist the bite of any kind of a big cat or little cat. Do not resist the bite of a spider. Do not resist the bite of a snake. Let them bite you. Let them eat you. That's the key. That is the solution to that situation. Your closing the mouth is just showing the divine within you that you're just not quite ready yet. You're just not quite ready yet to have the divine infusion that we call Kundalini activation and awakening. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. It is understandable, though, is it not? That, not many people in it. Yeah.
It's a natural response.
It is,
but the thing is that when you're ready for Kundalini to have, your Kundalini overpowers that natural response. Your calmness in the face of perceived impending danger is calmed down. That fear is put aside. The fact that she was just able to blissfully reach over and close the mouth, tells me that the Kundalini is being very gentle with her right now, but she's probably going to get another opportunity to be bitten, and she needs to accept it.
Yeah, and isn't it wonderful? This is one of the reasons I love that this show is here, because now this person has heard that information, and look at the choice.
Is she here right now? Is she with us?
No, but she will. You know what I'm saying, isn't it? It's fantastic that that's the information that can make such a difference to people. Anyway, so the next question again, the English. So it's about a dream, Chrism, and it's a lucid dream where there was a dim, small neem tree appeared before this person, and they went and they touched the leaves, and suddenly this neem tree began to grow some amount. And the next time the person flew up and touched the top of the tree, and again it grew, but this time a large amount. And the third time, I reached the end of the branches, the person says, and it turns into two sugar canes with a stem on top. Also, as these kinds of dreams are going on, the person is extremely sensitive, is crying a lot, and very emotional, and wondering, is this related to the Shakti path that they've had recently?
With me?
I didn't put the person's name down, but I'm going to. Can we assume so?
No.
We can't assume so. Well,
no.
That's all they said. It's related to Shakti path.
Well, yeah, I would say it is. I would say it is indeed, and I would say they need to get a neem tree, and they need to nurture that neem tree, and they need to touch it, to converse with it, to be gentle with it, to grow it. And that can help them through transpositioning. That can help them with their own Shakti pot, or the germination of the sacred grace within them. Get the neem tree and use the neem tree as a way of seeing that Shakti pot grace within them. But get a small tree at first, not a big one. Get a small tree and nurture it, just the way you should be nurturing your Shakti pot. And certainly if you took the Shakti pot from me, That would mean that you're doing the safeties twice a day, every day, throughout the year or years. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. From the group, I keep having dreams where I am doing yoga headstands and focusing all my power on my lower back. Is this something caused by my Kundalini? And if so, should I take it into consideration?
Definitely take it into consideration. Definitely increase your focus on the base of your spine. And doing the headstands is not bad at all. That's nourishing the cranium. That's nourishing the seventh chakra, the blood rushing to the head and whatnot. Headstands can be very, very, very beneficial. Make sure that you don't have any kind of a medical condition that would contraindicate you, like, say, a propensity towards aneurysm, high blood pressure, things of that nature. Make sure that you can safely do the headstand, and that you can do the headstand that you saw yourself doing in the dream. That's very important, that you don't try to change it up, that you try to be as immaculate to the dream as you possibly can be. Yes, definitely take note of this, and definitely take that into consideration. Over.
Okay, and the last question, Chrism, is what books, videos, or documentaries have helped you with the Kundalini process? Are there resources that you can speak about that could help, please?
KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com. KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.uk.com, I think. KundaliniAwakeningSystems1UK.com. KundaliniSafeties.com. Kundalini Awakening ! On Facebook. As far as written material goes, there's very, very little out there that is helpful, unless you get off on PhDs and people relegating everything to some sort of a scientific methodology. Some of the more helpful ones would be Gopi Krishna, Kundalini, the Evolutionary Force in Man. Another one would be, I forget what she calls it. It's Kundalini, and her name's Bonnie Greenwell. She describes the symptoms fairly well, but she's still very, very, very immersed into science, which to me is such an incredibly limiting thought process when it comes to Kundalini. Jung, the famous psychologist Jung, wrote about the Kundalini, and this is where he began his works into the archetypes of human psychology. Genevieve Paulson Lewis, I believe, wrote a good book on it, and that was helpful to me. T. Lob saying,
chakras, was it, Chrism?
Yeah, Genevieve Lewis Paulson, I believe. And Kundalini and the chakras, right. Even though that's channeled material, I found that to be somewhat helpful, although I totally didn't pay any attention with her, having, and then there's all kinds of chakras on the forehead, and there's chakras all over the place, and this chakra and that chakra. I just went with the 7 main chakras, as my Kundalini advised me to do, and I ignored things. And I really suggest that people do this in their book, any of the books that they read. Let your Kundalini act as a sieve of information for you. Let the Kundalini determine what levels of that book you're going to take in and what levels you're just going to throw out. Another author that I learned a great deal from was T. Lobsang Rampa. That's T. Lobsang, L-O-B, B as in Bob, S as in song, A-N-G, Lobsang, Rampa, and Rampa is spelled R as in Robert, A as in Apple, M as in Mary, P as in Paul, A as in Apple. T. Lobsang Rampa, he's got a pretty weird past. Doesn't speak too much of Kundalini, but it kind of prepped me for Kundalini in a way. Prepped me for what I was already having. Let's put it that way. So there are some authors there. I can't really think of anything else that's being offered out there right now. Kundalini and Christianity by Philip St. Romain was helpful, especially for Western audiences, especially for those who are heavily steeped in Catholicism and Christianity. Kundalini and Christianity by Philip St. Romain was helpful as well. Over.
Okay, Chrism, thank you. And I suppose to mention your YouTube, I know it's not writing, but your YouTube videos are extremely helpful as well. So is it Chrism O Kundalini?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Chrism O Kundalini. Anyway, Google Chrism Kundalini videos.
You could just do Chrism space Kundalini and they'll all come up.
They'll all come up. Yeah, exactly.
Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Yahoo Groups, Kundalini Healing at Yahoo Groups, Kundalini Virgins at Yahoo Group, Kundalini Trinities at Yahoo Group, a bunch of Yahoo Groups there. Then on Facebook, we have Kundalini People on Facebook groups. We have Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 and Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, Kundalini Awakening Systems 3 on Facebook groups. We also have Kundalini Healing, both public group and a private group on Facebook. Oh, wow. Kundalini exclamation point on Facebook. Kundalini Radiance Community on Facebook. And a few others. I know. We have Kundalini Awakening exclamation. We have Kundalini Awakening exclamation point on Google Plus groups as well, and I even believe I have one Kundalini Awakening Systems one on what's that one that deals with your jobs and whatnot? What's that called?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. I believe I have a group on LinkedIn as well. Yes.
Okay.
So
that's the end of the questions, Chrism.
Well, thank you, Amelia, for asking them. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today, those who have called in and those who are there in the chat room. I'd like to thank those who asked questions and for the many people that asked questions here on this group. And do you have any last words there, Amelia?
Well, I haven't given the place that people can go to if they want to make a donation, so I'm going to do that now. You can go to www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com and you'll see the donate button there. You can also go to another venue, which is the website KundaliniSafeties.com, and there's another donate button there as well. And I like to say to people that all donations are really, really welcome. They don't have to be huge. Of course, if they are, that would be wonderful too. But small donations are important. Small donations add up. And if you're in a position to donate, I would like to invite you to do that. Support the work that Chrism does. He does this work 24/7. His life is dedicated to helping people and supporting people in many, many different ways that are having Kundalini awakening, that are having Kundalini syndrome, there are so many ways that he helps people, and he does this 24/7. So I would like to invite you to support this work, to be of service to the Kundalini through supporting this work, and go, if you're in a position to do so, of course, go to either of those websites. I'll give them to you again. One of them is www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and the other one is Kundalini Safeties .com, www.kundalinisafeties.com, and there's also a donate button there. Thank you very much, Chrism, and I look forward to speaking here again next week. And hi to everybody in the chat room and to everybody in the archives. See you next time this day next week. Bye.
And ditto to everything that she said. And we'll go ahead and end this program now. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And for those listening in the future, thank you for the people in the chat room, people calling in. And thank you, most of all, to you.